Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. It's 4th of July weekend, and look at this, a Tom Usiak photo of a shuttle that was the Endeavor. No, it was Enterprise, I believe. It was at the Space Museum in Smithsonian, and the fireworks over that big 4th of July thing that we're going to be sharing today. Some fireworks that going on in space with the only space shuttle launched on July 4th, the only American crewed spacecraft launched on July 4th, and we got two astronaut birthdays. Norm Thagard is 81 years old, and Moonwalker Schmitt is 89 years old today. If you haven't looked at your space social media, everybody's wishing them a big happy birthday, particularly Schmitt. I've met both of them, talked to both of them. I've been around Schmitt for a 3-day festival event that he was involved in as the photographer for it. So I bird dogged him there a little bit with my camera way back in the day, probably 15 years ago. But the first time I met him about 20 years ago was a very interesting encounter that I want you to stay curious and let me share here in a few minutes. So I wanted to say hi to intern Logan Cope, who's working our Streamlabs board today. He's from Eastern Florida State College. Been doing a great job for us the past 2 months. And that's a job for us, meaning Marty Winkel, my co-producer and cohort in Stay Curious Crimes for the last 4 years. We're up to about episode around 1090, something like that. I'll let you know when you hit 1100. But we're so grateful to everybody watching, and we've got some help now in the building that wants to reach out our signature search engine opportunities, engine A or something like that. So which unfortunately we don't know a lot about, but we need to have the right language in there to reach out to more people that you're telling to watch, because one, we talk about the space program like we feel no other. The American Space Museum for over 25 years has been preserving the birth of the American space age in its delivery room, literally where it all began, Brevard County, Florida. So Marty, you're an early bird riser there. I did not see the morning launch this morning. Understand it was very spectacular. Did you were you pounding iron in the gym, or did you get outside to see that morning launch of another Starlink system of satellites?
No, I didn't get up to watch it. I just stayed inside and I heard it, and it was a fairly loud one. It was good.
Yeah, it was had a real interesting cloud formation and so forth. So check the sites for that. Of course, we wanted everybody to think about a safe, happy 4th of July coming up here. We're going to be closed tomorrow. We will be open Friday and Saturday. However, we're not going to have a Stay Curious episode on Thursday and Friday. In my humble opinion, you'll all be too busy enjoying our nation's holiday to have time to watch Stay Curious. And if you just get a hankering to watch it and can't do without it, Dave Stange, you know you can go to the YouTube channel and see over 700 episodes there. So play a little roulette there and just poke your finger on one of the great programs there. We had a good one yesterday on Wendy Lawrence's birthday. Also, the other lady who had a birthday, Marty. Can't think of.
Was it Susan Kilran, was it?
No, not Susan Kilran. But anyway, we did a program centered around Wendy Lawrence's inspiration to become an astronaut. Her father, who was become an admiral in the Navy, but was a Vietnam PO war prisoner in the Hanoi Hilton. And, I can see the lady's name that she was married to, astronaut Nagel, Steve Nagel. So someone will pump it in there and remind this senior citizen what I'm trying to remember there, Logan. Who had a birthday yesterday?
Linda Godwin.
Pardon me?
Linda Godwin.
Yeah, Linda Godwin. There we go, Linda Godwin. And what a great person she is, from the state of Missouri. Like I said, we will be closed Friday, July 4th. It's actually Thursday, July 4th. This is an old slide, so I'll have to amend that. And we want you to keep our Executive Director, Karan Conklin, in your thoughts and prayers. She's comfortably at home, and her husband there, and she's happily with her Yorkie Terriers that she's passionately in love with. There's her fur baby. She's got 3 of them. Understand she was having another chemo treatment, and her husband has posted on his Facebook page that she has stage 4 lung cancer, and there have been survivors of that, and we're just praying for Karan to get well and get back in the saddle here at the American Space Museum. So let's segue to the shuttles of the month of July. July 3rd, we're kicking off here. We've had 1 shuttle launched in the month of July. July 1st was STS 94 there. It was originally 83, is why I had a slip of the tongue. And we juxtapose all these across the date that they were launched, okay, not the year they were launched. So I have the year there, and C means Columbia, and D is Discovery. And on July 4th in 2006, STS-121 was launched, and we're going to show you some beautiful pictures of this. It was the most photographed shuttle mission in history. Why? Stay curious, okay? Why was it the most photographed shuttle in history? All right, think about that, and think about the succession. Actually, there's a shuttle of July that was the launch that preceded STS-121, and a hint, it was not STS-120, all right? We've got their 65 up to the top. That's the first Japanese woman in space. She's a god, Mukai, there. And Cabana was the commander on that one. Everybody knows Bob Cabana. The last shuttle was launched on July 8th, 2011, 13 years ago, Marty. And what a tribute to the space workers like Marty was. He was a manager on the launch process system engines, the side of the shuttle, the SSME engines. Marty, what a tribute at the last 3 missions when everyone got their pink slips and had to find a job somewhere else, that they are without a doubt referred to by the shuttle workers as the cleanest, best flights of the whole entire 135 launch program. So we'll talk about that next week, I'm sure. 104 took up the Quest airlock that all the extravehicular activities go out of for America. STS-70 in the middle is famous for the northern flicker woodpecker that poked holes into the ET tank, the external tank, the orange foam. The only time this ever happened, I had to bring it back in and fix the holes in it. STS-127, a hard hat mission that Julie Payette, one of our favorites, astronauts we met, is on it, Canadian's first female astronaut. Then the 93 and 114 were both commanded by Eileen Collins, all right? She launched July 23rd, 99 on her first command, putting up the Gamma Ray Observatory. And then 6 years later, she was the commander. 6 years between commands, Marty. I didn't realize that. She was the commander of the Return to Flight STS-114. And in 85, an early mission there, STS-51F, 5 meaning the fiscal year 1985, which was launched in July 85. Cola Wars was going on there early in the program. And our friend J.D. Bartow is on that. So is Story Musgrave, everybody's friend. Gordon Fullerton was the commander of that. And then the final flight was our museum friend, astronaut Andy Allen. He was pilot on that tethered satellite mission in 92, launched on the last day of the month. So, and on the 13th of the month, we had 6 of the 11 space shuttles were orbiting Earth. So you can look forward to me sharing that with you sometime next week. So hope that you all enjoy the shuttles of the month as we talk about them and remind everybody of the wonderful things that have come out of this shuttle era. I define it in 3 ways. up to the Challenger explosion, when it was going to be the space truck that NASA arrogantly said, forget your single stick rockets, Titan and Atlas. Everyone's going to be wanting to put their satellites on our shuttles that will be launching 2 or 3 times a month. Well, we never launched more than 9 in 1 year. And the other side, that's the first part of the show. Then the middle third is learning how to do things in the payload bay, sending satellites to planets and other probes, but learning all the things to do in those space labs and space halves, and how to walk in space and work in space and build the International Space Station, which was the final third of the era of the shuttle. So you got space truck, which didn't come to fruition, learn how to build a space station and do science on it, and then build that space station that's been continuously occupied for 22 years. So one of the missions that was launched has a lot of history to it was STS-121. This was the launch after 114, the return to flight. And after the return to flight of 114, there was a lot of foam that was that had came off. I'm going to go forward here to the patch. Foam had come off of 114 off the external tank, which was the whole problem with the previous flight of 107, the disaster of Columbia. They're out of sequence, folks. 107 was the disaster in 2003. 114 was the return to flight 2 years later. And then we grounded the fleet after 114 because this foam coming off the external tank, still problems with it. I talked to somebody recently that they watched it on anticipation on the video monitors, special at KSC, and they saw this foam go by the camera, and they thought, uh-oh, their exhilaration turned to concern. The fleet was grounded for a year after 114 to solve this problem of the foam coming off the external tank. So a lot of people don't realize that. Though it was a successful mission, 114, still the orbiter was great, but not what could be damaged to the orbiter with that foam coming off. So 121, completely out of sequence, number-wise, was given the task of going to space and, again, reaffirming some of the safeguards that had been done on that external tank. That's why it was the most photographed shuttle in mission history, more than 100 highlight digital. Let me go forward there. There's the launch right there on July 4th. All right. 2006. Do the math, 18 years ago. Beautiful shot there. I believe one of our UCAC brothers shot that. 100 high-definition digital video and film cameras documented the launch and climb to orbit. The images helped assess any damage sustained and a potential risk for landing. It was a supply mission to the International Space Station, which had been without that for over a year. Almost 2 tons of things were taken up there. Heat exchanger for a microgravity science glove box, a spare U.S. extravehicular activity suit, and an emergency jetpack were all taken up to the space station 18 years ago. A long, almost 13-day mission that included, as the astronauts on there, left to right, you've got Stephanie Wilson, who is still an astronaut and scheduled to go to the International Space Station in September. She's waited about 13 years to fly. She flew 121, and I think she was like in 130 or 129. Michael Fossum is the next one on the left there. Then you got the commander, Steve Lindsay. You got mission specialist Pierre Sellers between the commander, Lindsay, and Mark Kelly. Of course, distinguished bald head there, the twin. And then you got mission specialist Thomas Ryder. And beside him at the end is Lisa Nowak. And you go, wait a minute, Mark. Lisa Nowak? I know who she is. Yeah, unfortunately, everybody does. That's the lady that went a little crazy in a love triangle situation. We're sorry, women. Us men drive you crazy. We know that. But not to make light of it, it was a serious situation where she was arrested for wanting to do harm to her boyfriend, astronaut O'Flynn. O'Flynn is his name. Was dating another woman that he eventually married. But you know what? She spent almost 13 days in space. She was a Navy captain, and she snapped, and it cost her her career. I understand she doesn't hide from it. She was actually Mike Baker, who's in town this week. We'll probably see Bakes in the next day or two. He has told us before that she showed up at an astronaut gathering about 4 years ago, and everybody was a little bit wide-eyed and bushy-tailed about what she was going to do there, but she just enjoyed being a retired astronaut. So she was stripped of some of her Navy benefits, I believe. So Lisa Nowak was part of this mission, commanded by Mark Kelly. Not commanded, Steve Lindsay was the commander, and then Mark Kelly was the pilot there. There's their patch showing the traditional star of the astronaut office, International Space Station, getting back on track. Beautiful launch photo there. You don't see many that you can line yourself up with the flag. And this is a well publicized photo of the rollover to inspect everything on the internet on there, but from the International Space Station. A gorgeous photograph there. Steve Lindsay pushing the orbiter up there for no doubt a telephoto view there. They did 3 EVAs. One of the EVAs tested the carbon panels, tested repairs on the carbon panel on the front, and pre-ceramic polymer sealants containing carbon silicon carbon powder, known as NOAX, was used on the damaged panels, and they made 3 gouge repairs and 2 crack repairs. This is very important to try to understand if we could save the shuttle in orbit and repair it. And apparently they felt confident that they could because the program went on. So thank you, STS-123, which was the second return to flight after Columbia. It truly was. And then we had a very good program out to the end of its 5 years in there. Well, let's get the birthdays on there. I forgot my birthday slide as things are busy there. I'll put my birthday hat on here and try to get a star to put on there, like the astronaut office medallion. But happy 81st birthday to Norm Thagard, born today in Marianna, Florida. He grew up in Jacksonville, a U.S. Marine officer, hoorah. He was the first American to ride to space aboard a Russian vehicle, the TM-21, in March 95, when he spent 115 days on the Mir space station, another American first. This was so important to the relationship we have in space today with Russia. Here in 1995, basically 30 years ago, he was training for this mission. He's a frequent visitor out the Kennedy Visitors Complex Astronaut Encounter Program that our friend Nick Thomas helps engineer with the chief astronaut out there, Winston Scott. And we enjoy his story. He's very nice to the people that come up. You're going to see a picture of me with him. He enjoys autograph. I think he enjoys his time out there. Norm appears to be a very disciplined type person, and meaning that you don't have a lot of chit chat with him. Okay. But here is what a Soyuz rocket looks like going up in space. Hasn't changed in 40 years. Why should it? It's tried and true, and that's the Russian way. If it works, don't mess with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is the same look that Yuri Gagarin went to space in April 1961. Though the spacecraft now holds 3 people, very cramped. There's Norm on the Mir space station with his NASA flight suit there. He stayed in pretty good health, Marty. You look at him there, and today, of course, he may have gained a few pounds, but he stays in really good health. of course, this was his last of five trips to space, 5 space flights totaling 140 days. And when he came back on the Russian from the Mir space station, he came back on STS-71. And they had to bring back another Russian. STS-71 went up with 6 astronauts and came back with 8. Norm and the other Russian were in these recumbent chairs, they call them, lawn chairs, on the lower bay of the shuttle there in the mid-deck. And he signed it for us there. They're just a glorified lounge chair. I believe he's told me and other people, Marty, he just sat on the floor. He really don't remember sitting in that. He said, if I did, it wasn't too comfortable. But nonetheless, part of one-of-a-kind history that you'll find only in the American Space Museum, as we've got a picture of this tucked under a little area in the shuttle that brought Norm back in 1995 from the 115 days on the Mir space station. And then I believe he was swapped out for another astronaut we've met, Marty. Who swapped him out? Not going to think too long on that, but that was a great program. Thagard was on, there he is with me earlier in the year. STS-7, which was Sally Ride's flight, all right? And we love him. He talks so graciously about being on Sally Ride's flight. There he is. He had introduced David Hilmers at the Astronaut Hall of Fame induction. I didn't hear it. Marty, I've been looking for it on YouTube. You said he really had a wonderful speech there for Hilmers. They're obviously good friends there. Look how good he looks for 81. STS-7, he bragged about that Sally Ride would not go anywhere without his crewmates. Okay. The Tonight Show wanted Sally Ride on, the late night talk show of Johnny Carson. And she said, I'm not going to go on without my crew. The president wanted to see her. I think it was Reagan at the time. Nope, I want my whole crew to come to the White House. And they're really impressed with that. Both him and John Fabian were on that crew. And that's the picture I got of him there. Any other details about this good man? Like I said, if you get a chance to see him out the visitor center, he'll autograph about anything except postal covers. He wouldn't autograph a postal cover for me. But that's another story. Well, happy 89th birthday to Harrison Jack Schmitt, I should say. Born July 3rd, 1935 in Santa Rita, New Mexico. And he's a U.S. Senator from the home state of New Mexico in 1976, serving one term, and Apollo 17 was his only flight. Logan, we got any questions or comments there while I catch my breath and a little throat clear there?
Just that the press site photo was Carlton Bailey's.
Carlton Bailey's. Well, slap me upside of the head, Carlton, next time you see me. CB, that was a good photo. And thank you for sharing that with us there. I don't always tag everybody's names on things like I should. Carlton Bailey, launch photographer, space journalist for a long time. He's got over 700 launches to his credit. So, but thanks for sharing that. If you all do have any questions, just chime in there about the 4th of July weekend here. Anything but Lisa Nowalk, I'll answer. Well, I got to know Jack Schmitt a little bit at an event that he was at 3 days. Long story short, let's just say it was an event where a theater had a premiere play that involved space worker theme. He came for that. Then he was really cool. There was 100 kids that did pop bottle rockets in a big field one day that he spent all day there with it. And I was taking pictures for one of the sponsors there. So I approached him up front and said who I was, and I want to take a lot of pictures of him. Super nice guy. He doesn't like a lot of questions about his experience on the moon. He's talked about it so much. I tried to press him on was that the moon does smell like gunpowder, right? And he goes, yes, that it did smell like spent powder. It has that kind of smell to it. And I said, well, John Young said that the moon smelled itchy, fiberglass to him. No, I didn't feel that, He said, and I go, are you sure? Because John Young said that. And he kind of got a little irritated with me and says, I said, I didn't feel that. And I'm going, oh, okay. And then, but that was late, like the second day. And then we made up to him later. But yeah, you can get irritated at things people ask you over and over, particularly some of these urban legends out there that we try to dispel from time to time about astronauts and books, for example. Don't believe everything you read in every book. You got to really understand who's writing it, for one, and if they have any background. So I digress a lot talking about this man's birthday. He's the only geologist to go to the moon. He bumped Joe Engle from the Apollo 17 lunar module pilot seat. Gene Cernan wasn't too happy about that, but found him very capable. After all, Gene Cernan, friends with Joe Engle for a long time. Joe Engle, an X-15 pilot, okay, but Engle turned down Skylab and ASTP, Apollo Soyuz. He could have gone on any of those missions, but he turned them down because he wanted to fly a reusable spaceship. So he became a commander of one of the shuttles and he's also the test pilot. So there is Schmitt inside lunar module number 12, is it, Marty? Apollo 17 is the 12th lunar module. I love looking at the patina. I was going to crop this picture, but I'm going, look, Marty bent that there, folks. When he knocked his head on there. I'm just teasing, of course, but we love bragging that Marty was a lunar module electrical engineer for Grumman and was inside of this vehicle. Did you kind of stand there where Jack Schmitt is, Marty? Any recollection? Get the microphone on there for him. I'm going to put you on the spot when we talk Apollo on the moon, but
I would say I stood in the exact same spot because I was acting as a commander and a LMP. So
now, why is that bent? Would they have done that for their own purposes or just happen to do that, or is it even bent? Talking about this, and what is that we're looking at? The perforated board.
Gibson called the overhead. It's just a covering over the I'll say the skin of the vehicle. Just to protect it. There's some wiring up there. So it's precautionary.
Is it riveted? Or
it's screwed in.
Screwed in,
Yeah,
okay.
Screws are along the
Okay,
perimeter.
screws, just kind of.
Yeah.
Do you see anything in there there's the window, triangular window off his shoulder there. This is after their third EVA. Look how dirty his suit is, man. And I understand that Cernan didn't get out of his. He thought it was too cumbersome to even get out. So God bless the people that smelled those things.
Look, I think the story goes when he went into the command module, and gosh, I just forget who the command module.
Ron Evans.
Okay, he had him take those spacesuits off before they would come in.
Yeah, exactly. Wash it and wipe your feet too, because I don't want you to get my command module all dirty in here. Well, like I said, he's really a hell of a guy. There he is with his crewmates, all passed away. He is the second youngest moonwalker alive. So who are the others? Well, the youngest is Charlie Duke, who's 88. Charlie Duke will be 89, I think, in October, in the fall. The oldest, drum roll please, of course that would be 94-year-old Buzz Aldrin of Apollo 11. Then you've got, who's the other fourth one out there? Tom Usiak scratching his head going, I know that's easy. That is, it's easy, I forgot about it. Dave Scott. Yeah, Dave Scott's 92 of Apollo 15. So, 11 of the 24 men that went to the moon were rookies. And there's two of them right there. Gene went with two rookies to the moon. And I really find that interesting, Marty, in a way of the training, the testament to the training, okay? Because there were some astronauts that passed up going to the moon that could have easily gone, like Tom Stafford, commanded a mission. Don't really know why he didn't. How about he become the Jim McDevitt of Apollo 10, okay. Why didn't Jim Lovell go back for a third time, for example? I would have sent the whole Apollo 13 crew back immediately. I that puzzles me, all that training and so forth. No, we're just going to rest you guys up and send you back up again, and you got that experience at least there. So some interesting decisions like that. Maybe we'll find the right people to ask about it. As you see, I am staying curious about Apollo all the time. Well, there's lunar module number 12. Gosh, what was its name? I think it was called Endeavor. What was the monikers for these last two? They were patriotic names.
I'll look it up. I forget.
Yeah, look that up for me, Marty, please. Before I'll bet Steve Jokums knows what the call signs were for the lunar. Falcon was 16. Falcon was 15. Orion was 16. And I think this is Endeavor. Or maybe the command module was Endeavor. But I'm blanking out there. But look at that beautiful scene. Okay. Now that is Gino in the seat because he's got a red stripe on his arm. The commander wore a red stripe on his arm, thighs, and his helmet. And that's been continued now as the lead on spacewalks on the ISS. The third lunar rover on there. This is... So Schmitt took that photograph. And if you want to have some fun over the holidays, yeah, Logan, go ahead. And I'll tell you all later how to have fun over the holidays.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Steve
Challenger
Jokums says CM America, Command Module America and Lunar Module was Challenger.
Okay, who did that?
Steve Jokums.
Thank you, Steve. All right. He and I will both be at Silverstone in England over the weekend for the Formula One race. Fingers crossed they bring some new bits for that Ferrari. But, yeah, thank you. America, I knew one was patriotic. America was the command module, and the lunar module was, again... Challenger, okay. But if you want to have some downtime and you had a belly full of good picnic food and you're eating your watermelon, go to Flickr Apollo Archives. In every frame of every Hasselblad piece of film taken to the moon or in orbit or in Earth orbit, some case, the magazines are right there. You photographers will love it because you even see they're in order of the film strip. And film strip, for those of you who don't know what the heck that is, it's like this. Okay, this is film right there. Make me small there. This is a roll of film in a canister, how it was done old school days. And you're looking at the pictures as I'm reeling out the film here. It is so cool to see. So I'm turning you all onto that for something to do to have fun. And you literally go there and see 150 photos are there, 151. I think there's less than 100 photos on the surface of the moon by Apollo 11. All right. And then there are approaches to be, 800, 900 a mission there. There you see the command module America on there. So I've harvested from time to time photos off of these. And here's one that I found very interesting. Now, that is Schmitt in the background. Of course, this mission was in December 1972. We're coming up on the 55th anniversary of Apollo 11 here in a few weeks, and we will be talking a lot about that. Try to get some guests on about that. So this, is 1972, so 52 years ago. I love the foreground there, the kind of pulling stuff apart. They don't, they're not going to, they just get stuff out and leave it where it lays there. And that's the way it looks right now. All right. They didn't go around and tidy anything up. If I stood there 52 years later, I wonder what that would look like, Marty. That scene right there of the leg of the lunar module. Looks like quad 3 to me in the back, buddy. I don't know. What's it look like to you?
It is quad 3. That's where the LSEP is.
All right. The Apollo Lunar Science Experiment deal. So, and occasionally the astronauts did flip their visors up, and there's Harrison Schmitt showing his face on the moon there. That is so cool to see him like that. This was the camera that was on the lunar module that you could watch for hours, but there was no cable TV or networks that would air it. All right, you just had the big three: ABC, CBS, and NBC in 1972. No cable news network that would have been having this on live on there. But you can go see a lot of it on YouTube. And Harrison Schmitt, Me and My Shadow, for birthday boy here. All right, and that leads me up to the first time, and that's the ALSEP experiment Marty talked about. And I love shadows, and I think that's cool that is his way of taking a selfie there. And, let's see, I wonder which one. Let y'all look at my bald spot there a minute. Just before I pick up the paper here, say hi to Dave Stange and Doug Forrest. Dave up in Michigan and Doug in Los Angeles area. Know you'll be seeing some fireworks. Mark Usiak. He occasionally goes over from Lancaster, Pennsylvania to Washington, D.C. and sees the fireworks over there. So he's a Facebook guy. Check him out. Robert Law up in Dundee, Scotland. Good Wednesday evening to you, sir. Thanks for that beautiful shot of STS-121, Carlton Bailey. Steve Jokums up at the Lake County Spaceport. Look them up on eBay. They'll sell you some decals for your shuttle models and other things. Gary Gerald, hope you and your wife Donnie have a great fireworks time up there in the middle of Georgia. Tommy Usiak, keep your little brother out of trouble there, Tom. And Tom Celentano. Not sure if you're on the Space Coast or up in Connecticut, Tom, but either place you're enjoying some good weather, I hope, up there. So we're all going to meet. We're going to be the Bristol Astronomy Club in Tennessee, where I lived for over 35 years. We were going to go to University of Tennessee, just about 90 miles down the road on Interstate 81, to see Harrison Schmitt talk at the new Howard Baker Auditorium for Peace there at the University of Tennessee, right near the famous football stadium. And so about three carloads of us went down. It was an evening talk, and I remember it was kind of in February, I believe, because we all had coats on. Well, Dr. Schmitt of geology, one of his favorite guys that he went to school with, was Larry Clark, and Larry was the chief geologist at the University of Tennessee, and he helped invent lunar regolith, artificial lunar regolith. And Schmitt would come every year, sometimes twice a year, and lecture the students for a week. So they have a moonwalker geologist that was on the moon, giving them giving them advice about their careers and teaching them some basic elementary stuff of geology. So we're excited to get down there. It's, like I said, a 90-minute drive. So as soon as I get out of the car, a bunch of us, we run into the place, and I head to the bathroom. And I'm standing at the men's urinal, and guess who came right beside me at the next urinal? You're right. That's Jack Schmitt, all right? This is when we got outside the bathroom, all right? But I turn around and I see him, and I said, "Hi, sir, how are you?" He said, "Just fine." And I said, "Well," I said, "this is a little awkward. I'll make sure I wash my hands real good when I shake your hand." and he laughed. And so we go outside, and I got a picture of him when, that's when on Facebook, Emily Carney's Space Hipsters had about 5,000 people on it instead of I don't know what they have. I think 60,000 now. And the Keep Calm and Set SCC to AUX was the famous call by Aarons, flight controller Aarons, to Alan Bean to flip the switch, SCE to AUX behind him, and that saved the mission. It was struck by lightning as that Saturn V rolled off the pad in 1969 in November. So that's my story about meeting Jack Schmitt, and I stick to it. I told him that story a couple years later when I was photographing it. He laughed. Here he was at that event that I told you about. This is the type of guy he is, all right? Little guy there with his mom at this event where they had about 100 kids and rockets that they were shooting off and so forth. And I said, "Sir, I've been a professional photographer all my life, and would you just give me a pose shot?" And I posed him up there a little bit, and that's my Jack Schmitt Casual Harrison Harrison Jack Schmitt casual shot there that I took that day. So very good guy, and don't miss a chance to see him. And I hope he's in good health. Haven't heard otherwise. But 89 years old today, our last and 12th Moonwalker. Now, he went up the ladder before Gene Cernan, so Gene Cernan is the last human to touch the moon. But this was the last of the lucky 12 that got to walk on the moon there. And as a tribute to that, I share our good friend Chris Callie's tribute to Apollo 17, little pen drawing, that pencil drawing that he has cobbled out there. Chris, be talking to you next day or two. But thank you for your support of the American Space Museum, and a nice way to take you out there. And a little reminiscent that without my good buddy Marty Winkel here, I would have never been able to see this view of Discovery at the Smithsonian Institute. He was so kind to take me and Travis Thompson to the Smithsonian, and we stayed with a friend of yours, and it was just a once-in-a-lifetime trip I'll never forget. Kind of a man road trip as it was, and we got to see Travis's flight suit there in the case there, and we haven't talked to Travis in a while. He's doing something else, but he's always welcome here at the American Space Museum. We want everybody to know that we welcome Travis at any time, but he's out doing his own thing, and we wish him well, but still honored with he was the White Room tech up there, a key figure at the end of putting the astronauts into their spaceship there. So beautiful to see that. Marty, what a great trip it was out there. So again, there is, I think they swapped out Discovery when it was put in there, and Enterprise had been in there a while. So what do you read on the side there? Is that Discovery?
Atlantis.
Oh, it's Atlantis. Okay. All right. But Atlantis is here. So not sure what that's all about. UCX will straighten me out, because I think one of them took that picture. Regardless, appropriate photo for this holiday, where we wish you a safe and happy 4th of July, celebrating our country's birth and all that we stand for. So I'm not going to show that last image there, but thank you, William Whiting. Hey, William, great to see you today. He sent me a little a text about, what did you send me a text about? I glanced at it there, and then I said, I'm going to thank you for that on there, William. But there it is. The up at the University of Toledo, they have a rocket up there. So they procured a genuine rocket from the U.S. Army. And there it is, William. Thanks for sending me that. I'm not sure what that is, a Scout? Something like that. But even up in Toledo, they love having rockets around. So we're spoiled by it around here for sure. But so come down and visit us. Plan a vacation. We're not too far from the attractions in Orlando or the beaches at Cape Canaveral or Cocoa Beach. And here at Titusville, we guarantee you will walk in a one-of-a-kind museum that you will see artifacts that you can never see anywhere else in the world. So until next time, Marty's got something to say there. Thank you, Marty.
Yeah, Carlton Bailey is saying that Fiverr's picture was MarQ at the transfer of Atlantis to Delaware North.
Great. Thank you, Carlton. That was a MarQ photo. And credit your brother. I'll correct that. Maybe you could handle that. But thank you, CB, for telling us that on there. I didn't put up my computer in my hand here to read things. So we're going to take a couple days off, Thursday and Friday, freshen our attitude and our show up a little bit, and get back to you on Monday, kicking off with the Shuttles of July and Apollo 11. All right. We will try to get some guests in. We've done a good job over the years doing it, but some of these older, the torch is passing, the astronauts and space workers that we can bring in for Apollo. So if you have something about Apollo 11 you'd like to hear about, let me know, and we'll be glad to share it with everyone else. So until next time, I'm Marquette saying have a great 4th of July. Come visit our museum, because I can't wait to see you to bridge the space between us.